Hi everyone, for today's book review, we won't be reviewing one book, we'll be reviewing a series of books. These series are the Navypedia Reference books that have come out over the last year or so. You can see them, they all have this dark blue cover, and depending on which volume, they cover many navies and many warships from 1937 through to 1945. The author of these books runs an extensive website called Navypedia, and these books are essentially a hard copy version of the information provided on his site. I don't have the full set, I have 7, and the format for all of them is essentially the same. There is an introduction, there is an apology explaining that English is the author's second language, and honestly, reading through the descriptions, while they're quite perfunctory, there is no issue with understanding or anything like that. I've read worse translations, worse interpretations in larger books published by established publishing houses. And the format of the books are the same. It lists the ships from largest to smallest, so for the major navies it'll be their battleships, aircraft carriers, and then goes down heavy cruiser, light cruiser, destroyers, torpedo boats, onwards and onwards and onwards. The books that I looked at that are all drawn at the same scale, 1 to 1125 scale, so that all ships come up to the same scale. This means that for the big ones, such as the battleships, a drawing of them might take up a full page, whereas with some of the smaller gunboats, we'll take a tiny corner of the page. There's usually one photo with a side profile drawing, a selection of which from different volumes you can see up here, covering many ships, many types. And the value of these books will come down to what you're looking for. For those who want statistical information and don't want to burn their retinas looking at an electronic screen, then these books are really good for that, because the information is quite basic. It is, construction, tonnage, armament, crew complement, and then basic information about the ship, how it was designed, where it was designed, anything noteworthy regarding its deployment, and basic dates, entered service, lost, sunk, scrapped, withdrawn from service, basic information such as that. And the Navypedia series covers all the major navies and all the minor navies. And again, depending on what you're looking for, this may be what you need if you just want a hard copy reference of statistical information and you don't want to look at an electronic screen, then these books are good. But with some of the volumes that deal with the more established navies, such as the Soviet Union, Germany, Japan, France, Italy, there are other books out there that do the same thing, but do it in a much more comprehensive and a much more aesthetic manner. So, for example, with the Soviet Union volume, Pen and Sword have published a massive multiple volume set of books about the Soviet Navy in the Second World War, and that is the definitive set of works for this navy. For Japan, there are plenty of books detailing the Japanese fleet in the Second World War, and probably the finest of them would be this one, Warships of the Imperial Japanese Navy, 1869 to 1945, co-written by Dieter Jung, Peter Mikkel, and Hans-Jörg Genschura. Honestly, anything Japanese warships, Second World War, go for this one. For Germany, it may be a hefty volume, but some of the smaller combatants are basically just listings. You've got the multiple volume study by Groner, which does the same thing across multiple volumes. For France, you've got the multiple volumes by John Jordan dealing with the various ship types, battleships of the French Navy, destroyers of the French Navy, etc., etc., etc. And if you're more interested in ship types, battleships, cruisers, destroyers, etc., 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 again, there are books that do the same thing in a more comprehensive and more aesthetically pleasing format. The one that immediately comes to mind is the M.J. Whiteley series, battleships of the Second World War, cruisers of the Second World War, destroyers of the Second World War, etc. The greatest value I found with these books are when it deals with the smaller navies, because what it's been able to do is to take a whole heap of information that you would have to hunt down through a variety of sources and put it together into one easily accessible space. On top of that, it provides information that is hard to access. And so if you are going to get any of these, I do recommend Volume 9, which is Fighting Ships of World War II, Volume 9, Asia, Africa, and Latin America, and its preceding volume, Fighting Ships of the Second World War, Volume 8, Europe, which covers the other European nations, not the major combatants, but the other, so for example, the middle and the minor powers. Netherlands, Finland, Poland, etc., etc., etc. Those two volumes are great for the reasons that I just mentioned. What I found really fascinating, particularly with Volume 9, is when you're reading through these, you can just see how well Italy did in the 30s, exporting a lot of their sloops, gunboats, and even destroyers to other navies. They did a very good trade selling their designs. I won't rate these because, again, the value of this will come down to what the reader needs. But kudos to the author for making all this information easily accessible. And kudos as well for highlighting not just the major players, but also the minor ones. Some who's had ships that have served, many decades. In this volume, Volume 9, there are some gunboats in South America that are still in service in the 21st century right now, which is an incredible feat. So if you are interested in a one-stop source of basic statistical information with an overview of operational history, then these books are a great starting point, particularly if you're looking to begin your research or you're looking to begin to understand navies, combat units, etc., etc., etc. These are a great reference starting point. And for those who want to learn more about the minor navies, then Volume 8 and Volume 9, great place to get started. Some reviews have said that some of the drawings have been badly set up. In all the volumes, it varies. Between 95 and 99% of the drawings have been reproduced perfectly. I found that with some of the smaller ones, I think just because of the digital printing process, the graphics won't be able to be replicated completely accurately, and so a few of them will appear fuzzy. But again, this is in the minority. The overwhelming majority of illustrations included in here are reproduced clearly, and there is no issue looking at all the details on the pages. So there you have it, the Navypedia series.